Hi there, my name is Alona and today I want to share with you a little bit of Christmassy inspiration. I know it's maybe too early for you to think about festive spirit, but believe me, it's October and it's time to think about your Christmas jumper. I got a little bit of patterns, kind of like, obvious Christmassy jumpers that screams it's Christmas out there. But also I got a little bit of patterns that may look not so Christmassy, but still may got, this feeling that it's festive winter holidays. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, please keep watching. The first pattern that I want to share with you is very beautiful color work, circular yoke pattern, Northern Augustins number 6 by Augustins Decay on Instagram. And I find that it's kind of like Christmas jumper with all of the color work details, kind of like obvious Christmassy one, but all of those color work details are so tiny, delicate. You see some candies, small gifts or presents, box of these presents, small trees, and because each of those patterns are quite tiny and dainty, you feel that's not too much, and I really enjoy looking at this pattern. It has double folded, twisted one by one rib collar, but also what's surprising and quite unusual, I feel that I don't see a lot of patterns like that. Is that you have your hem of the sweater and cuffs also knitted in the same way, so you will have double folded twisted rib. And I think that it adds a little bit of more polished look to this garment. Yes, it will require a little bit of work, but I still find that it adds, like this a little bit of something nicer over there. Gauge of this pattern is 14 stitches per 10 centimeters in stockinette stitch, so once again you have pretty big gauge, so you will need pretty fast this sweater. The recommended needle size is 4.5, and probably once again you will go with bigger needle for your colorwork part. And you will have the recommended yarn over here is bulky weight yarn, and I think that like for 4.5mm needles and such gauge, probably the designer is quite loose knitter, so you will have to swatch. Don't forget to gauge swatch, and probably you will need bigger needle size. The sweater has 8 sizes to suit bust from 80 cm to 150 cm, with a positive ease of around 20 cm or 8 inches. The next sweater that I want to share with you is a pretty new knitting pattern that was released 2 weeks ago, something like that, and I have test knitted it. I got yarn and pattern for free from Knitting for Olive for testing, but I wasn't asked to share with you about this. This is just my desire to share this pattern because that's stunning. They have a children's version with, I think, dress, children's sweater, and adult version of the sweater. The adult version of the snow sweater has a lot of color work, but only on the sleeves. So you will have your kind of like classical Christmas jumper with color work with round yoke, but not a color work round yoke, because as I mentioned, all of the color work will be on the sleeves. So you're knitting your round yoke as usual with a lot of short rows to keep pretty nice and balanced amount of yarn over here and on the back to raise a little bit the back. Then you're knitting, finishing your yoke, knitting straight the body, and the all magic starts when you start knitting your sleeves. You knit a little bit of your sleeve before starting the color work, and then you start adding all of those beautiful snowflakes. You should be careful with this sleeve because you will have big floats for some time, so you need to catch them. And then you will start the real magic, because this sweater has also trees. Christmas trees in the snow, so you will have a little bit of a snow, then you will have trees with the snow, and the calf kind of like a snow small snow on the road under your trees. But be careful with choosing your background color, because it should have enough contrast with the snowflakes, and at the same time it should have enough contrast with your trees. For example, my version has a little bit low contrast between trees and the sleeve itself. I'm not sure that I'm a big fan of it, but all of those people who commented on my Instagram told me that this is the perfect amount of contrast, because you can wear it every day, and probably I will agree with them. The recommended yarn over here is fingering plus laced weight, and that's why the gauge over here is 21 stitch per 33 rows. The next pattern that I want to share with you is by Sandnes Garn. This is their Christmas sweater, and this is the first 3 patterns that I will share with you. I have several of them. This Christmas jumper may be kind of like obvious Christmas jumper, at least for me, because it has a lot of trees, reindeers, a lot of red color and so on. But I feel that it can be quite nice to wear, and maybe having something like that can be nice sometimes, you know, maybe not for everyone, but I would be happy to have it. So this is a raglan sweater. This is not a round yoke, and that's why you will have a little bit of stripes over here with a white color, and then chunks of the color work. This may look a little bit strange for someone, but for me it adds a little bit of, you know, like visual interest, because the top of the sweater won't be overloaded with the color work. The gauge of this sweater is 22 stitches per 10 centimeters on 3.5mm needles. And from what I know, usually Sandnes Garn's pattern recommend smaller needle than a lot of people will go, so don't forget to gauge swatch once again. The recommended yarn over here is heavy decay yarn or almost worsted weight yarn, and they recommend to use their alpaca yarn, but probably you can go with something from Tropes, because I'm not sure that this will be a sweater for everyday wear, so maybe it doesn't worth using the most expensive yarn, but still you can knit something quite nice. The minus of this pattern is that it has only 4 sizes, but I can understand why, because probably that's the reason why the pattern is for free, because it's easier to create only for 4 sizes. From smallest bust circumference will be 87 centimeters and biggest 120. Finished measurements of this sweater for the bust will be from 87 centimeters to 120 centimeters. Not the biggest size range, but probably this is the price of the free sweater. Yeah, unfortunately this sometimes happens, but I couldn't omit that sweater, sorry. The next sweater that I want to share with you is the design by the Petite Knitter. It's called Mountain Reindeer, and this is once again a colorwork yoke, circular yoke sweater with a lot of reindeers and some small Christmas trees. Looks very, very cute, and I think that her designs usually quite appropriate for everyday use if you want to have something a little bit more fancy but not too much, especially if you're going with some subtle color combination. So take a look on that sweater. It has a boxy fit, and you have a lot of possibilities to customize the sweater. You may need it shorter, longer, you can change a little bit of your sleeve length, and also you can add additional bust shaping from what I see in the pattern, so quite nice pattern. The gauge over here is 22 stitches per 29 rows in 10 centimeters with 3.5mm needles, and the recommended yarn over here is, I think that's heavy decay or almost close to the worsted weight, and this is, the designer suggests to knit this sweater with unspun yarn like Platelope by Istex or Manchelope by Wool Dreamers. I know that Istex yarn may be a little bit too scratchy for a lot of people, and I know that probably Manchelope may be a little bit better. Or you can just go with not an unspun yarn and choose something that will suit you and that will be comfortable to wear for you, because definitely we spend a lot of time on knitting and the finished garment should be comfortable to wear. This is the most important thing. This pattern has 10 sizes from 79 centimeters bust to 168 centimeters of bust, or from 31 inch to 66 inches, with recommended positive ease of 7.5 centimeters to 13 centimeters or 3/5 inches of positive ease. I think that maybe next year I will go and knit myself something from the Petite Knitter with her colorful colorwork yokes, because I find them pretty dainty and I would say they're unique, because usually when you take a look at a photo with a sweater with a colorwork yoke, you can see that's a Petite Knitter. That's the reason why I think that probably I will knit one for myself. Let's go to a little bit different sweater constructions, I mean in the colorwork part, and the next sweater is Alaska sweater by Camille Decouture. I think that I'm not mispronouncing, because I got feel, yeah, I think that's a French designer, because this pattern has also a French version. And this is very beautiful sweater, again with the colorwork at the bottom of your sleeves and also at the bottom of the body. So it kind of a little bit close to snow sweater from Knitting for Olive, but it also has colorwork on the bottom of your sweater. Maybe you may feel that this is not the most Christmassy sweater, but that's the point of this video. Some of these patterns won't be too Christmassy, but they can be appropriate for Christmas and for everyday wear, and this is one of them. This is seamless top-down raglan sweater. You have cropped lengths of the sweater and cropped sleeves, so you will have something, I think something like that. And you will knit it at the top part of the raglan back and forth to shape your neckline without short rows, and then you will have a colorwork, two colors colorwork, so it should be almost beginner friendly, maybe not the best for the first colorwork pattern, because I see that they will have to catch long floats, but still I think it may be good as a second colorwork project. The gauge over here is 22 stitches per 34 rows with 3.5mm needles, and the recommended yarn over here is a decay weight yarn, so you can choose what feels right for you. I like the pattern photos over here with, you know, this tweedy yarn, because it adds a little bit of the interest, especially it kind of feels like, you know, gloomy Christmassy evening with a little bit of stars on the sky. That's how I feel about it. It has 9 sizes from 76 centimeters to 157 centimeters of, I think, finished, no, of, it will suit for the bust from 76 centimeters to 157 centimeters, or from 33.5 inches to 61 inches, with positive ease from 0 to 10 centimeters or from 0 inch to 4 inches. Probably you won't be surprised by the next sweater, because I could not knit this Petite Knit pattern, and this is Festival sweater my size, which may also look not so festive and Christmassy, but I still wanted to include it, especially if you will knit each round of this color work with different color on the darker background. It should look like a little bit, you know, like garlands over here, and it will be interesting but not too much. This is a, once again, round yoke sweater that you need starting from the folded neckline. Then you need short rows to shape your neckline, to raise a little bit the back part and to lower a little bit the front part. And after then you work your circular yoke with increases, and you work your stripes with small bubbles. Usually I don't like bubbles, but I think that in this pattern they have to be. The gauge over here is 21 stitch per 28 rows on 4mm needles, and the recommended yarn over here is decay yarn, or you can go with mohair plus fingering weight yarn, whatever suits you. The pattern has 9 sizes that will fit bust from 80 centimeters to 150 centimeters, or from 31 inch and a half to 59 inches. And recommended ease for this pattern is a positive ease of around 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches. 5.5. And the recommended ease for this pattern is a positive ease of around 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches. The next pattern that I want to share with you is a hoodie sweater by Han Riemann. This is once again a color work yoke sweater inspired by Denmark plants that you usually hang on the front door near Christmas time. That's what I got. And you can feel yourself as a tree decorator knitting this sweater, because at first you knit in the whole yoke and then you can decorate it a little bit with different red berries or maybe white berries. It depends on your taste, but you can definitely add something bright, maybe a little bit of sparkly for this sweater, and then you can just take off it and have a nice color work yoke sweater with botanical motifs. I have a problem today with pronouncing color work, definitely because I will pronounce it quite a lot today. And the construction over here is a little bit different from what I shared before, because not usually, but all my previous patterns that I shared were top down, and this one is bottom up, so you will have to find out how to knit your color work yoke from the bottom up and circular yoke from the bottom up. It can be interesting, I think. You knit your body and sleeves separately, and then you join them in the round and knit like that. Oh, you also may add additional waist shaping, which is quite nice, I think. The gauge of this sweater is 17 stitches per 23 rows in stockinette stitch on 4.5mm needles. The recommended yarn over here is Plaid Lopi by Istex, or you can go with Peruvian Highland wool from Filcolano Vestilia, or Snefnag by Camerose, or Jensen yarn plus silk mohair from Isager. So you have quite nice yarn options, even recommended by the designer, or you can choose something that will work for you better. The pattern has 6 sizes, from 90 centimeters to 137 centimeters of bust, or from 36 inches to 55 inches, with a recommended positive ease from 7.5 centimeters to 12.5 centimeters, or from 3 to 5 inches. The next sweater that I want to share with you is by the same designer, and it's called Santa Baby, and this is a free pattern that you may download on Filcolano website and knit yourself something Christmassy. This sweater worked from the top down, and it has a lot of trees and color work on the yoke. So this is once again a circular yoke sweater with stranded color work with only 2 colors. And on Instagram I saw several beautiful sweaters that were knitted not with the whole yoke with color work, but only with several trees over here, like one repeat, because you have one round of trees and next round of trees, and I saw with only like 4 trees over here. I will add a photo that you can once again decorate after you finish the sweater, and then you can and then you can take off that decoration and the sweater will be more everyday friendly, let's call it like that. The gauge of this sweater is 20 stitches per 28 rows on 4mm needles. The recommended yarn over here is a lace weight yarn plus light fingering weight yarn plus lace, dicky weight and light fingering weight yarn are recommended over here. Filcolano Chile, Perlina and Alva, but I think that you can meet the gauge with something like maybe once again Camerose, Snefnag or something like that. And the pattern is designed in 5 sizes. Once again, the reason I think behind it is because the pattern is for free, from 80 centimeters to 122 centimeters of bust, or from 32 centimeters to 48 almost 49 inches, with the positive is from 2 centimeters to 10 centimeters, or from 3/4 of inch to 4 inches. The next sweater that I want to share with you was released previous year, and I had a dream to knit it, but I still haven't knitted. This is a Little Crystals by Celine Payton. This is English tailored modified drop shoulder sweater with all over color work for the whole garment. This means that you will have a little bit of over here, you will have a little bit of the color work knitted flat. But you shouldn't be afraid. I think that it's not the most hardest thing that you may have. Plus the color work here is only with 2 colors, main and contrast color, so it's a little bit easier. And look how it looks. It has a lot of, snowflakes motifs, and you can go with some more Christmassy appropriate colors like white, green, red. Maybe you can change a little bit and use not only 2 colors but 3 colors. For example, you may need with one main color, like with one white main color, so this sweater, with over here you will have a chunk of, for example, green colorworks and red colorworks, and once again green, or whatever feels right for you. And it can be definitely something so, like wintry appropriate, snowy. I just look at this sweater and feel that I want to be cozy in it. I want to grab a cup of spiced coffee and drink it and enjoy. The gauge of this sweater is 21 stitch per 24 rows on 5mm needles. It's by the way, this gauge is in the color work. The recommended yarns over here is a Cascade 220 or Filcalana Peruvian yarn or Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. I heard pretty good feedback on Instagram and on YouTube about Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in color work, so you can try to use it. Plus, for me, I can get almost the same gauge as with, I think, Sandnes Garn Pergunt with Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. I know that it's a little bit different weight of yarn, but you can try, because Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino has a lot of air in it, and it has 125 meters per 50 grams, so it's quite long, plus it has a lot of air, and that's why your garment will be not so dense, quite light, but still you won't see holes in it. And I find that Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino is not so scratchy, but I think that you can still try to use over here Pergunt if you feel that's not too scratchy for you. This pattern has 10 sizes and it's graded to fit a full bust of 30 inches to from 30 inches to 66 inches, or from 75 centimeters to 165 centimeters, so it has quite a good size range. And I saw quite a lot of test knitters photos on different sizes. You can go on Ravelry and check out quite a nice selection, and the designer also added almost all her test knitters work into her design page, so you don't need to go inside projects to look into them, but you can also check out what is there. And what else I wanted to add is on this sweater. This sweater is recommended to be worn with a positive ease of 15 to 20 centimeters, or from 6 inches to 8 inches. The next pattern that I want to share with you is a Festive yoke pullover by Skogafjall. I hope I'm not mispronouncing. I checked. Honestly, I checked. This pattern was released in October 2022, and it has 690 projects on Ravelry, so you may check how this pattern looks on different body sizes. And it has a lot of everything, like this is a pattern when a lot of stuff going on, but from what I see on the designs photos, that you can knit it as a full colorwork sweater, or you can go only with the yoke part. And honestly, I like more the full colorwork version, because sometimes you may need something a little bit more festive, in your life, and this can be that sweater. This pullover is worked top down in the round, and you have 20 charts inside the pattern, so you can choose whichever whichever color work pattern you want to go. You might change this pattern as you wish, because you can change how those colorworks motif will go one by another. You can have deers, hearts, trees, snowmen, presents, bells, and so on and so on. So definitely you can be as inspired as you want with this sweater. The gauge over here is 24 stitches per 32 rows on 4mm needles. The recommended yarn over here is sport weight yarn, which is a little bit unusual for me because I don't see a lot of patterns specifically for sport weight, but I think that's a plus because the sweater won't be too heavy. If you need all over color work, it can be a little bit, like too dense, because basically you have two threads of the yarn at the same time, because your main color and the contrast color that you're not using at the same time. So it can be warm, and this pattern won't be so warm, which is quite nice. It has 10 sizes from 83 centimeters of bust to 158 centimeters, or from 33 inches to 62 inches. And the recommended ease of this sweater from 0 centimeters to 8 centimeters, or from 0 inches to 8 inches. The next pattern that I want to share with you is a Skogafjall by Diana Valla. And this is once again colorwork yoke sweater, round yoke, as you remember. But this one has a lot of trees which you can decorate or keep as is, and I think that it's maybe not so Christmassy once again, but it feels and gives me those vibes of Christmas trees. That's why I wanted to include it here. The construction of this pattern is bottom up, so you will start from knitting your body from the bottom up till you will have to join for the yoke. Then you will knit your sleeves separately, and then you will knit a circular yoke from the bottom up while knitting the color work. The gauge over here is 80 stitches per 24 rows on 5mm needles. The recommended yarn for this pattern is Aran weight yarn, and the suggested yarn is Eastex Loppy, but you can go with something like sandnes garn per good, because it may be a little bit less itchy for some people, or maybe even something less itchy if you can tolerate it as well. This pattern has 6 sizes to fit chest from 31 inches to 51 inch, or from 79 centimeters to 130 centimeters, with intended ease from 2 to 4 inches, or from 5 to 10 centimeters. And it was it for all Christmassy appropriate sweaters, let's call it like that, like Christmas jumpers. And right now I want to share with you 4 patterns that I think will be suitable for holiday season, and it's not specific, it's definitely not a Christmas jumpers, but I feel that you can knit them and wear for some special occasions. And as I don't have a lot of them, I decided not to create a separate video and just share them and just share it in the same video as Christmas jumpers. The first pattern will be once again by Anne-Sophie Wellin, who is Augustin Decay, and this is her Augustin number 1. I think that this is stunning, like nothing to add here. This is just a stunning feminine blouse with peplum skirt, with ribbons, with ruffles. You have everything, you have a lot of stuff going on there, and maybe it can be a little bit too much to wear every day, but for some special occasions, I think I need it. I have it saved probably from the very beginning of my knitting career, let's call it like that, because I think it's the most beautiful item that you may need for yourself. This garment is knitted top down in stockinette stitch, and it's seamless. You have separate panels that created using by seed stitch, some lace techniques. I think that this blouse is quite feminine. It looks definitely festive and suitable for holiday season, and I like this, and I also like the fact that it has quite big gauge from which is 16 stitches per 22 rows on 6mm needles, which means that you may need yourself a feminine blouse quite quickly, despite the fact that you will have to knit a peplum, which usually requires a lot of knitting, but I think that with bigger needles it won't be such a problem. The recommended yarn over here is lace weight plus light fingering weight yarn held together, so it can be also very fluffy. And this pattern has 6 sizes to fit bust from 80 centimeters to 120 or from 32 inches to 48 inches. And if we compare it with the newer patterns, right now this designer has a little bit more sizes, so let's hope that she will update this pattern as well. Unfortunately, there is no recommended ease for this blouse, and I think that I would go with 0 ease or not bigger than 5 centimeters of positive ease on the bust, because I think that it will be a little bit strange looking if you go with a lot of positive ease. The next pattern that I want to share with you is a Souffle pattern by Laura Penrose. I know this is her first ever published pattern, and right now she is trying to update it and change a little bit how the pattern is written up. And this is kind of like a blouse once again, or it depends which length of the sleeves you will go, but I think that even with a short sleeve you can call it a blouse. This is a light and romantic blouse that you knit with a sheer yoke. This is once again a circular yoke garment with sheer yoke. You knit it with 1 strand of lace weight yarn at the very top. Then you knit a purl rounds, if I'm not mistaken, and then you start knitting in 2 strands of lace weight yarn to get not so transparent part of the body and of the sleeves, because not everyone is ready to wear a lot of sheer over here, especially when you have some undergarments. And then after finishing it, you go and pick up stitches for this part where you had purl row, and then you add ruffle. I know that knitting the ruffle can be a little bit intimidating because you will have tons of stitches, literally tons, but I think that it's worth it. This pattern also has suggestions how to knit short sleeves and long sleeves, or you maybe can go with quarter length sleeves or something like that, you know, like somewhere in the middle of long sleeve and short sleeve, or maybe bracelet length. I think that bracelet length sleeves can be quite nice on some kind of blouses. The gauge of this pattern is 20 stitches per 28 rows on 4mm needles, and the recommended yarn, as I mentioned, is lace plus lace weight, so it will be a little bit maybe more expensive pattern, but I feel that if you want to knit something very not festive but something suitable for holiday seasons, that can be a go-to. This pattern has 10 sizes to fit bust from 71 centimeters to 162 centimeters, or from 28 inches to 64 inches, which I quite like, because not a lot of designers has, you know, quite small sizes. I don't like to knit the smallest size because I feel that people who are smaller than me can't find anything. And the recommended ease of this blouse is from 5 centimeters to 10 centimeters, or from 2 inches to 4 inches. The next pattern is again by Knitting for Olive. I've already mentioned it. The designer behind this brand is Pernille Larsson, and this is puff tee. I think that their puff tee can be definitely something more elevated, more suitable for some occasions, but also you can dress down and wear with your jean for every day, or dressed up with some trousers to have a little bit more festive vibe. This puff tee knitted with saddle shoulder construction, and you're working it from the top down, knitting these puff sleeves. And I think that the magic of this construction on those puff sleeves, because I've never knitted something like that, and I think that it can be pretty interesting to find out how to do it, and I think that I have it in my Knitting for Olive book, so I need to check it out. You start knitting this tee from double-ribbed neckband, then you knit with short rows to raise a little bit your back part of the neck and to shape your front part. And simultaneously you need your saddle shoulders, and then you start not sure about increasing, then you start shaping your puff sleeves, and you finish this pattern with deep ribbed edges, so you can cinch a little bit all of the edges to add even a little bit more elevated look. This pattern is designed with a gauge of 20 stitches per 26 rows on 4mm needles, and recommended yarn here is knit into olive soft silk mohair in 2 strands, so it will be a little bit more pricier pattern as well, but as you're knitting short sleeves, it won't require as much yarn as you will need for a long-sleeved version. This pattern has 8 sizes with finished circumference from 91 cm to 152 cm, or from 35 inches and from 35 and 3/4 inches to 59 and 3/4 inches, with the recommended positive ease from 6 cm to 10 cm, or from 2.5 inches to 4 inches of positive ease. And the last sweater that I want to share with you in the same category is Fine Line Sweater by Lily Kate Makes, or Lily Kate France, and I am in love with it. I have this pattern, I'm planning to knit it, I don't know when exactly, but I have this desire to knit it. And what I can say, that this is once again stunning. It is a little bit vintage looking pattern with some modern twist. You have a little bit of a puff sleeves. You see where I'm going? Yes, I have all those puff sleeves because all of them for me creates this vibe of holiday season, of something suitable for celebrations, really. And I think that if you need sleeves with some sheer yarn, like lace weight, hull double, or maybe adding some kind of stellina or something sparkly, it might work quite nicely. This construction is a seamless top down. You start knitting from your shoulders, then you knit in some kind of a ribbed top with a negative ease, and then you're knitting your sleeves. I think that you have short rows to get this puff. And also you have cinched cuffs that will add a little bit more dramatic look to this pattern. The gauge over here is 22 stitches per 28 rows on 4mm needles, and the recommended yarn here is a DK weight yarn, but I think that probably I would knit it with DK weight yarn without mohair for the bodies, and then add something with mohair maybe, or just 2 strands of mohair for sleeves to meet the gauge. Probably it may be a little bit tricky because 2 strands of mohair may give a little bit fluffier gauge, but still I think that's worth it. It has 9 sizes to fit bust from 71 cm to 157 cm, or from 28 inches to 62 inches, with a negative ease of 20 cm, with a negative ease from 20 to 30 cm, or from 8 inches to 10 inches, because you need ribbed bodies. That's why you need a lot of negative ease to showcase all of the rib. Definitely one of the most perfect blouse that I may imagine wearing for myself. And that was it. Please let me know in the comments below which patterns you find suitable for you. Do you like Christmas jumpers? Maybe you don't like Christmas jumpers, or you just have a feeling that you need to knit yourself something a little bit more festive that you can dress down and dress up for any occasions. Please let me know in the comments below how also the quality of the video. Have you seen some changes or not? And thanks a lot for spending your time with me. I really appreciate all your comments, all your likes. This means the world to me. Thanks a lot. Bye!